What's up, guys? Welcome back to Car Talk Canada. Coleman, how you doing?
Adrian, I'm doing good. Do you want to know what? It's been a busy week since the release of Series 2 last week. You want what? There was a bunch of shows this weekend. I'm doing good. Do you want to know what? The hobby's alive, as we said. Shows were packed this weekend. Adrian, how was your weekend? How was your week? Comments, questions on Series 2? What do you think? How do you think release week went overall for Series 2?
I think release week went better than people think it's gone. I think we've seen lots of sales. It seems like
Mhm.
Schaefer is a high hit rate. They printed a lot of him, but we're also seeing prices of boxes starting to go up. Hobby shops are selling out, and I think the distributors have raised prices on the second wave of products. So we're seeing those prices start to climb. So it'll be interesting to see if they keep selling out at their new prices. I think they're now starting to be around over 200. Everywhere that had them at 170, 160 starting to sell out. So I think that's an indicator to me that a lot of people were ripping and chasing after Schaefer. For it to sell out within the first 4 days is pretty impressive. But also, I am curious. Like, we have seen a ton of Schaefer being pulled out of boxes. So I think it's interesting that, like, the either the stock is really high or the print on Matthew Schaefer is really high, because even his sales are still ranging from anywhere from 350 to 460. Like, it's such a wide range on his sales on eBay right now that the market is breathing day to day.
Yeah, and I think it's something that, speaking of that, we saw yesterday at the Ottawa show for us, is that there was tons of people who had these cards in hand. Lots of Misas, lots of Schaefers. We saw lots of Schaefer parallels as well in the young guns. And I feel like a lot of people were trying to get out of them really quickly, and we're trying to move until the market kind of settles, or who knows, because we've seen in Salbrini's case, we thought his young gun prices settled for a bit, and then he started playing the way he did, and his market just absolutely exploded. So who knows really where Schaefer's market goes from here, whether it goes up or down. But what I can tell you is there's lots of supply out there. I can't say there's a lot of demand because I didn't see a lot of people asking for Schaefer or like looking to buy one, but I did see a lot of people looking to sell them. So I think it's a great time if you're a buyer. I think there's lots of opportunities to pick him up. If you're a seller, I feel like the price may be a little bit adjusted before lots of sales start to flow through.
Yeah, I think one thing that we also seen with how much they've printed is the quality control hasn't been that good. I don't know if you've seen some of the outbursts. Some of the outbursts that have come out of Matthew Schaefer have had this almost like peeling like plastic on the top layer. So that's something that obviously we wish Upper Deck could control and keep a handle on. But with how much has been pulled, we've also seen two high glosses pulled already surfaced on Facebook. So that's pretty impressive that those numbers and the hit rates are doing pretty well for people.
Well, I think it's a testament, as you said, to how many people are actually opening this product and how many people are actually wanting to hunt for Schaefer, for Misa, for Bouillon, for all these guys that who we talked about last week. It's a top heavy class, yes, with Schaefer and Misa, and there's a couple other great prospects in there. But I think when you look at the long term, there's a lot of these guys who could really break out in a couple seasons or kind of find their own in their each respective teams. And I think some guys, for prospecting those guys, might be a better opportunity to make a little bit of money than going straight to picking up Schaefer or Misa. Some guys who already have that hype built into them and whose price already reflects that. Some of these young guns are going to go low. They're going to be $5-10, and we can see upswings of 20 to 30 and even higher in some cases. So I think that's a good thing that I'll be looking out for, is picking a couple players and really trying to focus in on buying their young guns when they're cheap and letting them sit there and hold until I think they've kind of prospered into the player that I think they should be.
Yeah, I think I saw it on Facebook today. Someone was buying Zeev up at $12. Like, that's the low comp right now. And he's like, I'll buy as many as you have, $12. I'm paying all day. And that
Mhm.
seems like a card where it's the best defenseman in that crop on a Vancouver team where he's going to get lots of minutes. We've seen him perform, and he's still so young and needs to put on a bit more size. But there's so many great prospecting players out of this set that I think that's going to probably be a good goal for some people this off season, is when those are floating around in dollar bins, is going around stocking
Mhm.
up on, like, say 25 to 30 of one select player, picking them up all sub $5 and hoping that they make their way above $10 during the season.
No, I agree with that, and I think that it's something that a lot of people are going to be doing, as I said, and it's really a great thing that Series 2 comes out. And I don't know, do you have any downsides of the product? Or I do have something that I got from a breaker who has some ideas, but I don't know if you kind of have any um, kind of quick thinking about the product or anything that you would want to see changed into it.
Not quite. I'm curious, like what we're gonna see with extended. You know, they put in those patch cards as the chase card in extended now. So will that see Beckett Seneke's chase card be as expensive because people are gonna try and get their money back on the box? So is he gonna be $150 young gun? But there's not a lot of people talking about him, even though he's at a point per game on a rookie season. So it'll be interesting. Other than the quality control for me, those are the only two things I'd like to see them handle better. But I also kind of hinted at it is that maybe if they are overproducing Schaefer and that Schaefer's coming out more than all the other young guns, I feel like we should know that. Like they should be telling us if that is the true case, because that would affect his market and the amount of them out there. But other than that, those would be my concerns. What have you been hearing?
Well, not something more about just I feel like the layout of the product, I feel like have had some people kind of up. I feel like when we look at the way that Series 1, Series 2, and Extended is released and the amount of packs, and let's say, and this isn't the case for everyone, let's say, but one of the breakers said they would maybe like to see an opportunity for Upper Deck to do something like Panini does, or they did in the case where they have Breakers Delight, and where that all the hits are put into one pack, basically from the box. Because the thing is, you're taking a look at these release day streams, which a lot of these big breakers are running all morning, all day throughout the night, and it is a constant struggle that I'm watching them open these packs with all these base cards and get it all out just to have 3 or 4 hits in the box that really people care about. I feel like that maybe Upper Deck could come out with a product where it is just those hits and maybe there's some extra guaranteed odds or whatever, and maybe a little bit of a different product within the same set. I know this is something that Panini has done in the past, and it brings good opinions, bad opinions, and I feel like it's something that should be talked about. Adrian, what do you think about the possibilities of Upper Deck also coming out with, as well as Series 1, 2, and 3, having some sort of Breaker's Delight in Series 1, 2, or 3, where you're searching after those young guns, you're searching after the parallels, inserts, autos, whatever it may be with specialty in the set, it's just looking for the hits in that.
Do we want to see a Series 2 booster box, 36 pack, guaranteed young gun per box? Or 10x? That would be pretty epic. I mean, like that could be a way they could take it. Like there's so many, like I get what I get what the breakers are saying. Like you see them open and all of a sudden they have a stack like this and they gotta go base, 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 base. Oh, we finally got a hit, guys. Check this out.
Yeah.
Like it is tedious, lots of time lost and shipping out all those base cards for the people that are buying into them. But I think there is still there's still something so nostalgic about Series 2 and getting all those bases that it's hard for the flagship product that like is what we're built on and like that core young gun chase to be really changed per se. Like I think, yeah, if they could do some sort of increased odds, more expensive box where you're guaranteed 3 numbered cards, you're guaranteed a parallel, you're guaranteed a red outburst. Like you don't
That
know
would be
who's going to
crazy.
be in it, but
Yeah.
you're guaranteed a high parallel card that could, you know, drive up some of the chase factor, and you can build those boxes to have a little less base for the higher paying clientele that wants to spend a little more chasing these sets. I think I I part of me still loves that, just like getting that many packs, not knowing if you have a dead pack or a hot pack, like what's going on. Would love to see them sneak in a God pack if we start seeing God packs pop up, a pack just full of young guns, or like we saw in the Celebrini or Bedard Cup year, there was the Bedard pack. Give us a chase card pack, the Schaefer pack, where you
How
hit
cool would
the
it be if you had
one.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. If you had every parallel of Young Gun for Schaefer in
Yeah,
one box, like that would be crazy. And
like
no, I
complete.
agree. And do you wanna what? It is such an experience to open up all those packs and for everything. But the thing is most of these breakers, they don't ship their base. They don't show the base for them. And I understand completely. Set building is still a huge thing in the hobby. People are still looking to build sets. So and those base cards are all super important for the foundation of the set. But I think for specifically for breakers and that, if we're going towards a space and kind of a time where breaking's the number one avenue where people are going to get product. And hobby boxes are just getting more and more expensive for all the products in comparison to where we look at years and years ago. Over time, I think that Upper Deck may have a little switch where they start to create products specifically made for breaking. And we'll see if that happens, but just something that kind of came across the table at the show on Sunday.
It would be interesting, and, like, I think it would need to be a bit of a priority change for Upper Deck because they have come out and said, like, they're not focused on the breakers.
Yeah.
They still love the true collectors, and that's where they wanna focus. But, yeah, we're seeing these other products, these big panini breaks, these more expensive boxes, like, imagine we got a product that's bigger than the cup,
Yeah.
like, where every card is serial numbered under 10 or less, like, that would be a major thing, and it would flood a lot of money into the hobby, but it becomes a priority and a pillar thing for the company themselves to see if they would make the switch.
I feel like it's hard though, or not hard, but it's harder in the case for hockey in comparison to football and basketball to create these boxes where they're $20,000 plus and whatever. You look at the most recent one with the Patrick Mahomes exclusive Panini box where it was going for over 20,000, and the fact that you open that and you get guaranteed Mahomes autos and that, and people went crazy for it. It sold out. Imagine if Upper Deck came up with a Sidney Crosby box, or like the legends of the early 2000s, and it's something loaded with Ovechkin, Crosby, and all the greats from that time, like legend autos, and like the product that you could create if done properly. And that's what originally, when Engraved Icons that came out, I thought that was going to be a product where it was filled with legend stuff and just cards that people are really searching for in the hobby. And I feel like we're maybe missing a product where they have those things. Like, we take a look at O-Pee-Chee Premier back in the day. That product, you look at it now and look at what cards came out of that product. That product is loaded with stuff. We haven't seen a product like that with all the legend autos and patches and just all the great names involved. And I feel like it would be great to see them come out with a product that is maybe a little bit higher end, maybe a little bit more collector focused in some avenues, whether it's player based, team based, country based. There's so many different ideas where people are willing to spend the money now, and people are looking to put lots of money into this hobby. And I feel like Upper Deck can take a great opportunity and really put some time and effort into realizing that they're high end clients who are opening and buying these cards. They want to be able to have a high end experience like some of these football, basketball products. And I feel like Upper Deck really could capitalize on that. And there could be huge growth potential in the high end kind of wax area for the hockey card community.
Yeah, I think it would be massive if we had a high-end product that has a lower or a higher floor than what we get from the cup. Like, the last round of the cup was about an $1,800 product, and then your floor on that was as low as $300 that you could get back if you got skunked. But if we get Sidney Crosby exclusive. There's 87 of these boxes made, and they're going for 80K each. And your floor is 40K because the cards you're getting out of there are like numbered out of 3. Like, you're getting a game used jersey, you know what game it's from, all this stuff. Where
Exactly.
you have higher floor, you enter that new audience of collectors. I like to call them the whales. They got
Mhm.
deep pockets. They like to big spend, make big splashes. When you can tap into those guys who are willing to spend more, they'll buy the big ones, but then that money will also trickle down and help keep the rest of the hobby alive.
For
Like,
sure.
I mean, we did talk about this with Kyle. Like, Kyle believes that, like, the hobby at the bottom level is so healthy right now, and
Mhm.
we're not seeing as much controversy in that high end. But part of me thinks we need some of that. We need some of that money brought into the hobby from that big high end, but also to get, like Logan Paul talks about his collection of memorabilia and high-end stuff where he's buying stuff that you just know, like, this is a piece of history.
Mhm.
So that's where, if Upper Deck could get into that experience of, like, putting out if they can put out higher bids to get, like, the puck monumentals, like, we got the Vasi puck monumental here, like, I love this stuff. Knowing what game it's from, where if they could get their hands on a hat trick puck, if they could get their hands on a hat trick sweater, a playoff sweater, and we know where these are from, it could do so much better numbers. Even the net cord product that they do in game use. Why are those never autographed?
Mhm.
If we could get those autographed, instantly that ups the value because it's a playoff net cord, and if it's from the team that won the playoffs that year, there's so much more value to that. But because there's no auto, it doesn't hold as much value.
No, I agree,
So,
and I think that that could be something that Upper Deck implements and really has a great effect on the hobby overall.
but speaking of the hobby being alive and well, let's take a look at some of the Matthew Schaefer sales on Car Ladder this week.
You know what?
You know, last week,
There have been some crazy sales. You know what? Lots of people are been selling, and you take a look at some of these comps, and wow, wow.
yeah, last week we projected. I said 300, you said 5. Our Instagram poll said like 345.
Mhm.
And on the regular, you were closer to you than we were to me, I think. We saw those initial sales at like 450. Still seeing some 429 slipping through, but it's such a wide spread right now.
It really is, and I think, you know what, there's so many different you look at all the different comps and kind of the range of where we're seeing a low of really 350-ish, upwards of a high of even higher than that of 450, 460, and you take a look at even the outburst sales and some of the clear cuts of how high those ones are, and, it really just shows how big people think of a player he's gonna be and kind of, they're putting their money to it for sure.
Let's actually take a look at some of those variation sales. If I take out all the sales under 600, Deluxe doing 1350. The outburst seems to be floating around that 1K mark, which is about the same as what Bedard was doing pre his boost. I think he is sitting around there right now, actually, Bedard's outburst. So it's pretty interesting to see. The clear cut is up at 1800. We do have an exclusive sale on eBay at just shy of 4K.
Yeah.
So that's a big one. Red Outburst sale at 12K on auction over at Savage. If the Red Outburst does 12, like that's got to put the high gloss at 15, 16.
Well, the thing is,
Maybe.
where would you put the high gloss? If we saw one pop right now into auction, do you think it would cross that $20,000 mark, or what do you think um, it is really at right at this moment?
20,000 was my like projected number before comps were out, before the product got there. But I, I don't know. Sometimes when these big cards like this get that high, no auto, no patches, I have no idea what these things could go for. I think we know the two have surfaced, so I think they're going to go privately before they go on auction. Um, but only time will tell. I don't think I would see it if the red outburst did 12. I don't think I would see the high gloss touching 20.
I guess you never know. You really because we've seen a couple of the high gloss which have had acts of below 20,000. I think, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah, yeah. I believe those were floating on Facebook in like the 16 to 1800 range, 16 to 18K range.
Do you
Who is our next biggest
Do you think
prospect?
the outburst has more chance to grow or fall, or where do you think based on, let's say, those last 3 sales in between 1,000 to 1,200, 1,300? Do you think that's a good range for them to be in, or do you think it's going to downshift or upshift a little bit more?
I actually think the outburst is in the right spot. I think the deluxe has a chance of going up.
Okay.
I think we've seen the deluxe prices like a Macklin Celebrini deluxe right now is like 2,200 was the last sale. Um, so if Macklin's doing that and this raw Young Gun's doing more than like about the same as a raw Macklin, like I can see room for the deluxe to grow. I think the outburst is going to sit in that pocket of 1,000 to 1,200. That's what Bedard's been doing pretty steadily this whole season. So I think the outburst has room to sit there, but entering an interesting time. If the Islanders are in the playoffs, that card can go up, but then we always see a dip in the off season. So I think a lot could happen.
I agree, and I think that like Matthew Schaefer, the way that he's being utilized and in the Islanders organization, and kind of each opportunity, like he's getting the opportunity to really prove to himself why he's kind of regarded as one of these players who are going to be a generational talent. And I think that he's really stepping up to the plate. And you take a look at some of these Misa sales too. There's also some massive Michael Misa sales going on.
Yeah, Misa 6.5 on a red outburst. Even who is this Hunter Haight pulling off 10K on a red outburst? That's a surprise right there. Um, Ben Kindle on his exclusive doing 1,000. That's I think that I'll be honest. I think that's an overpay. Kid's great, but 10,000 or 1,000 for that, that's gonna be tough getting your money back there. Another one, 13. What? Who is Ben Kindle's on fire?
Someone must be really wanting to collect this guy.
That's 2 exclusives over $1,000. That's bonkers. But it is healthy that we are seeing more than one guy having his variations pop up above $1,000. You know, we're seeing the hype and love on Misa. We're seeing the hype and love on Kindle.
Mhm.
It's good that we're seeing that. That's healthy. That it's not just the Chase Schaefer one and done and be happy. Like right now, if you look at Series One, right now the only way to make your money box when you open that pack up is getting an Ivan Demidov and hoping that it's really mint. Otherwise, most of those cards you're struggling to get your money back. So it's good to see there's other players that can help get along the way. I will say I'm a little shocked that Easton Cowan is going for so cheap. I know
That's
that
another
me
one
and the
who
Leafs fan are
well
depressed, but
Well, that's another one who I know. I was just kind of going through my notes and seeing we didn't talk about really Easton Cowan. And I feel like I haven't really seen much. I didn't actually see one for sale yesterday at the Ottawa show. And holy cow, we got a high glass already.
I saw the same thing too this weekend. I didn't see any out, and I'm in Toronto. I went to 2 shows, and I didn't see any Easton Cowan cards out for sale. So I do think that people are buying because, in my opinion, it's a good price, $20 to $40 for our best prospect under the age of 21. It seems like a good buy. His variations are doing strong numbers though.
What do we have? The silver
The
890.
Outburst, 90. There's another one up here, 102, 95. It's in about $100, which is kind of where this is kind of replicating what Nye's numbers was doing at first. Nye's was about a $40 card, and his Outburst was 100 to 130. This high gloss sale is impressive though.
Do you
1,300
think
on
that if a
auction.
second one hits the market, we see a similar area of that high gloss, or do you think it takes like, do you feel like that's low for him, high for him?
I think it's lower than I thought. I honestly thought this was like a 15 to $1,600 card. I'd seen one pulled on Instagram, contemplated throwing an offer, but emotionally, I just can't invest money in the Leafs right now, um, because we are having a midlife crisis. But that is the Leafs for you. So I thought the card, like when you look at comparables, like Nyes early on, his high gloss sales were anywhere from 15 to 2K at first. Then they jumped up to 3K during his boost, and now they're back down. But that's where I thought this was going to be a similar card when you're prospecting a Leafs player, and it was going to be in that range.
It's always hard to tell. You never know where, because the Leafs, like their market holds such a premium in their land, and you never know where these players are going to end up when they first come out. Because there's a huge demand for them, the Leafs market can really push, but it seems to be a steady demand for Cowan, and we're seeing some pretty good sales on him. And he could be a one who you pick up 10, 20, $30 pretty cheaply, and in a long term, make that for a flip or whatever the case may be.
100%. I think there's going to be a lot of people that are going to stack up on that stack and have that on their shelves going into next year's season. But speaking of the shows this weekend, the Ottawa show, you said it's been busy. Lots of people walking up, buying cards, selling cards. What was your recap of Ottawa for you?
Well, personally, I think, you know what, it's always a great show in Ottawa. We started the morning, we had a false fire alarm during setup, which was first time I ever had that happen, actually. And do you want to know what? It was a little bit of a unique experience. I didn't really want to leave the room. I was the last one to leave the room. I did not. But it was just overall an experience where it kind of pushed everyone behind getting set up. We pushed the show back 10, 15 minutes to start time. Overall, it was a tight kind of squeeze to get everything set up and done. But again, right when the doors opened, it was packed and people came flooding in. And you've been to the Ottawa show, you know how busy it can get for those shows. And it was nonstop right through the end. And I think it was really great to see there was so many people who were out there selling Series 2 and buying Series 2 wax that was for sale. And I think that just seeing how many people were excited about the new product was really exciting. Pokemon was still very popular. Lots and lots of people who are looking for in the sports side of things. Maybe we're going into the playoff times for for basketball, for hockey, and we're starting the season for baseball coming up soon. And I think a lot of people are looking at this time and utilizing it as maybe times to pick up players who they think are going to have big impacts going forward. I saw a lot of Moritz Seider sales coming in. I sold 3 Young Gun 10s yesterday, which is something that doesn't normally happen. But I feel like a lot of people are looking at that Detroit squad and they're thinking, wow, these guys are the real deal. They have the right key players. And I think overall, you could see his market take a bump. There's lots of players who I think people are really honing in on and really taking and making an effort to find some of their more unique cards, some of their higher end stuff, because they think, why is this guy so undervalued? Or why is this guy valued this way, undervalued compared to, let's say, this player who plays the same style or has a similar amount of points? And I know things matter like market size and where the player is, Canadian, American, European, whatsoever. But I feel like a lot of these mid tier players who are having great years still have some space to move up overall.
Yeah, I think we've definitely seen a lot where it's almost like comparison gambling, and you're like, well,
Yes.
if Crosby does this and Ovechkin does this, like they should be the same. They should be Crosby should be more. So we've seen that at the higher levels, but now we're seeing it down at the younger levels. And so we've started to see a rise on the Cutter Gauthier prices, and he's starting to replicate some of the prices we were seeing when Trevor Zegras was a high up and coming player for the Ducks.
Mhm.
Both flashy, good, prolific American players that can do some damage. So it's pretty nice to see that people are finding different ways to prospect per se, but also realizing the value of some of these guys. It's like, well, just because other people aren't buying it right now doesn't mean I shouldn't be buying it right now.
Mhm. Oh, for sure.
Another thing you did talk about too was, the Moritz Seider sales. I think the nice thing about the standings right now is we're seeing a bunch of new teams making the playoffs. And so these are a bunch of guys that their cards have notoriously been low because they haven't been playoff teams. And now we're going to get a chance to see some of these cards rise and see what they can do numbers wise. So I think that's one thing that I'm most excited for. One, this standings race to the playoffs, see who makes it in. But two, I think there's quite a lot of potential to see some cards go to the moon based off the playoff run. Like if we see a Buffalo go on a run all the way to the Eastern Conference Finals, maybe the Stanley Cup Finals, like I think those numbers from Dahlin's cards, from Tage Thompson's cards, I think we could see those numbers start to go crazy.
I agree. I was scouting some Buffalo players yesterday. I was looking for some Darlene stuff, even some of the guys like you look at Tage Thompson and where what he's done for that team, and maybe even Jack Quinn or some of these guys who again aren't superstars on their team, but who make a huge difference, and I think who have that opportunity to really their markets blow up. Adrian, how about you? I know you on Sunday, you didn't set up with a show, but you walked both the Hogtown show as well as the Durham show. What did you think about the atmosphere there? What did you think about the overall hockey card market at these shows?
Yeah, I mean the GTA's been getting tougher and tougher. It's been there's so many shows, and once again there was so many. I think there was four different shows on the Sunday. We only made it to two of them. That the foot traffic is hit or miss. It seems at some of these shows. So for us, we've been finding it hard to set up. Um, so but we got there. We saw at the Hogtown, we saw a lot of our regulars that we do deals with. Paradise Cards, Maximum, Rival was there. J Collectibles, ND. So we got to do some deals with some of our usual guys that we like to do deals with. And then we made our way over to Durham to check out what was going on the East End. And we like going out to Durham just because it's a bit farther out of the city. Sometimes you'll see newer cards, different cards.
For sure.
It was funny. Maximum and Rival were actually set up at both locations. They split up the team, and so they had booths going on at both. So I think Nick might have done a deal with both Rivals booths, the one at each location. But it was cool. One thing that really impressed me, and I don't want to give out free gas, but I'm gonna do it anyways. Well, one, it was $10 to get in at Durham, but the foot traffic was really strong, which typically you would think like a steep entrance price is going to deter people,
Mhm.
but it was pretty good. They like usual, they split the room. You've set up there, right side sports, left side Pokemon. And so it was the same split again. There were a bunch of newer vendors. I wouldn't say that it was the highest quality of vendors, but there were a bunch of newer vendors, and um, that sometimes obviously hinders an experience. Was Kevin up in Ottawa with you guys this weekend? Yeah, so right there between you and Kevin, that's at least 8 displays worth of high-end cards, not at this show that usually are. So obviously the show will be nicer when you get a chance to make it back out there. But I think it was overall a pretty good weekend. I picked up some new stuff. Debut threads, Austin Matthews,
Yeah,
RPA
yeah.
Ultimate. There it is.
I like that
We
card.
picked Crosby jersey auto out of SPX from I think it's 2011. Love the retro design on that one. And then Mario Lemieux honorable numbers.
That one is
Uh,
sweet.
nice pickup that I also was able to do this weekend. So still managed to get some deals done, pick up and find some cool cards. But I'm really excited because we're really trying to buckle in these are our last few like free weekends. I think it's the right word to say before we enter a super busy April. I know you and the boys are booked for Edmonton.
Hmm.
We're gonna have debating that Ottawa 2 day show that you mentioned about the
Yep.
Ottawa Expo, Ottawa Trade Show.
Ottawa Capital Expo.
Yeah, that one sounds like it would be a good time. And then the Toronto Expo is all in April. 2 weeks later, the Montreal Expo. 2 weeks later, True North Expo here in Markham. So there's a lot of great shows coming up that are going to take up a lot of time. Going to have to keep refreshing the inventory, picking up some new stuff, some hot stuff, and getting ready for the playoffs. So there's a lot to be done.
I agree, and it's a busy time, and you know what? It's also one of the best times with all these shows and all these great opportunities to buy and sell and all that. So I know I'm really excited for the next couple of months coming up, leading into the summer.
Yeah, it's going to be good. I think we talked about this last season, but knowing that playoffs are around the corner, it's kind of time to start stocking up on some of those playoff teams. Other than Buffalo, was there anyone else you were looking to pick up this weekend?
Dallas, I'm really a fan of, as you guys know, as always, but I think their market's really, you see Wyatt Johnson and where some of his values have gone. You look at Miko Rantanen and you look at all of them really on Dallas. I think they're going to have a phenomenal chance in the playoffs again this year. And I think there's going to be lots of people who are really taking that opportunity and kind of, we see their markets go up.
I think for me, I would be looking at that other division, that Central or the Pacific Division, because the Pacific Division is so wide open that there's room for someone to go on a good run that's not Edmonton. I think Edmonton is so much shakier this year than they were at the end of last season that it could literally be anyone. Like if it literally could be anyone. If San Jose sneaks in and they don't have to play Colorado out of the wild card spot, like San Jose numbers could go like we thought Celebrini numbers were high already. Imagine if they make the second round. Like
No, I know it would be crazy.
with that, I think that is all we have time for this week. We are working on a guest schedule to get some more guests on before the busy April, May. So if there's anyone you'd like for us to get on the podcast, leave us a comment. Let us know if you yourself would like to hop on the podcast. Shoot us a message. We'll see if we can work out something. Otherwise than that, Coleman, see you
Thank you
soon.
guys very much. It was a great night. And as Adrian said, we're looking forward to getting some more guests on and hopefully some live podcasts at expos coming in the future.
Yes, sir. Peace.